Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it and give this video a like.
Podcast below in the description. Check that out as well.
And check out American-Giant.com. Promo code HAM. American made. Very high quality. A lot of options for you. There's the classic hoodie. Fantastic stuff. Very proud of it.
American-Giant.com. Promo code HAM. T-shirts. Mine and yours are in the wash. Right there. Get it.
John, let's talk about Talanoa Hufanga, the 49ers' fifth-round pick. Pick 180, their second fifth-round pick out of USC. This guy falls in the category of, John Lynch said it, Kyle Shanahan said it, just football player. Old school badass, I think, was the line that Kyle used. He's an old school badass, which feels like something that John Lynch would actually write down in a scouting report.
Yeah, I mean, everyone I text, I just text a picture. I just went to, I just typed him into my phone, got a picture of him just standing with the hair, 15. Texted to like 3 or 4 of my buddies. Stud, wrecking ball, an exec with the Niners, baller. To me, he's just a guy scouts are going to like. He hits people. I know this as just a football fan watching SC the last couple years. It's a long cry from like the Pete Carroll, every guy's a pro. He did stand out. Like 15 makes a lot of plays. He had a sweet pick 6 in the UCLA game, but he just hits guys. You just feel his presence. Now, I think when you really dive in, I had another buddy that's like, I struggled with him a little bit because I didn't know what position he played. He's not like fast enough to be just a true kind of hybrid linebacker because he's kind of undersized. So you want to move him to safety, but does he have the range? And you hear Kyle and John, I don't even think they know his true position yet. But in the 5th round, a guy that just fucking flies around and hits people, that guy can immediately play special teams, right? To me, just watch him. He should translate to kickoff, punt, as long as his play speed. He ran a 4.61, which is crazy. That's now viewed as really slow. To just high-end athletes, like that's pretty fast. I guess modern-day NFL, you like to get like 4.51. So, if you're going to be a hybrid guy, they like you to be like 4.48, 4.50 because you're going to cover, if you're a hybrid linebacker, that means you're coming in on passing downs. Like you're checking McCaffrey out of the backfield, right? Cam Akers, whoever Seattle's rolling out, Kyler Murray, maybe you're spying him. That to me is the question whether he becomes a starter. But to me, he just has to make the team on special teams and then just find himself a role on defense. As a hitter and a tackler, to me, you can stand out in the preseason immediately by just making some plays.
I know they loved when he said the goal is to be a special team Pro Bowler in year 1. You don't get any big school ego with this guy in terms of feeling entitled to anything, right? He was a major recruit, major prospect. The list of schools he was choosing between was exactly what you expect from one of USC's best football players, which is what he was. I texted a guy who studied USC a lot over the years. He said, really good football player, whatever athlete, probably won't be able to run with NFL talent. But again, really good football player. And so, like Kyle said in his press conference, we're going to try him at safety, and if that doesn't work, maybe we'll try him at linebacker. You read some of the reports about him. There was that, I guess when it's a compliment, you say hybrid. When it's not a compliment, you say tweener. But, I think on the most basic level, like we're talking about, they're betting on the instincts. They're betting on the heart. They're betting on the high level of production at a major school. And, they're betting on the old school badass, which to me, this is kind of a culture fit for them, right? At a position, like what they're going to ask him to do is just going to require kind of a blue collar effort guy. Not to say he doesn't have talent, because again, he does, but it seems like some of the things that he has said matches what they view as I would say probably a little bit of an uphill battle for him, right, to be a contributor.
Yeah, one thing I think they've had a lot of success with, now some of these guys are all coming, like Jimmy Ward was a first-round pick, so I'm not holding this guy to that standard. But K'Wan Williams, who it turns out they were able to resign, but like they've had a core group of kind of just physical, either slot corners or kind of in the box safeties. I don't mean a slot. This guy's not a slot corner, but just a guy that if you put a tight end in the slot, maybe he would just be on top of them. Guys that just hit. And when all else fails, they'll just fucking rock you. And again, back to Jimmy Ward, one reason I think his career kind of came together is because at the end of the day, Jimmy will just rock your world. And K'Wan Williams just really found a role on their defense as a hybrid slot corner because he will just crush people as a blitzer. If you can do that, like their culture last year, as Bosa disappeared, as Sherman got hurt, it's just all the names. Buckner's no longer there till the last game. But definitely that stretch where they played the Rams and the Cardinals back to back in December with kind of randoms, guys were getting crushed.
Yeah.
And I remember people in the league being like, you know what? The culture of the Niners is like Kyle. This is where you and I really defended Kyle. Like they went 6-10, but if you watched them, they really felt like an 8-9 win team whose quarterback was just a disaster because their defense was clearly playoff level, right?
Yeah.
And it was not playoff level with Buckner, Sherman, all the guys, right? Bosa. It was with guys like this, unnamed guys who just met the standard of when you line up. And now, granted, they got a new defensive coordinator, but under Saleh, all else fails, we're hitting you and hitting you full speed.
Well, I think
right?
that's a big key is like you change. Saleh had a culture defensively that matched where he had come from. D'Amico Ryans, I would say, matches when he was a player, matches the same culture. He's not Robert Saleh. He's a different human being. But one of the ways you maintain that culture is by continuing to have those types of players who receive that message well or who naturally are that kind of guy in your program. So, yeah, this is what we spent the last month, 2 months, 3 months talking about the quarterbacks. We had to wait a few rounds to draft defense for them. But that is one of, when we get to the season, we go, what are the big questions with the 49ers this year? D'Amico Ryans not only is a new defensive coordinator, he's a first-time defensive coordinator. So that's going to be a major question for them. But I think one of the ways you maintain consistency is by turning over with the same types of personality players on your team.
Well, the big knock that I've heard, and you heard the same thing, is just speed, play speed. And he ran a 4.61, which is not ideal for a guy that might have to turn into kind of a hybrid defensive back. But I'm going to go back to K1. I just brought up his pre-draft measurables, and he was an undrafted free agent who bounced around till really finding a role with this Niner team. Ran a 4.53. And for a corner, 4.53 would be the equivalent of a linebacker / safety 4.61. Like it's 6-7 tenths of a second too slow. But when all the dust settled and he got his opportunity, why did K1 make it? Because he's the toughest motherfucker on the field every time he straps it up. Like, He just ain't afraid of anything. And that, to me, like the Niners, just watching a lot of draft stuff with different GMs talking, I think they like to go back to the well of what they've had success with. And that you hear a lot of, like, we've had success. You hear that comment a lot post-draft or, like, after a second and third round. Like, we've had a lot of success with guys like this. And different teams, it's different shapes and sizes. But I think the Niners, talking about the running backs, talking about this guy, we'll get into the corners, all kind of share just toughness, you know?
Well,
obviously it's football, but I'm
yeah,
saying,
I mean,
like,
I would imagine, John, in the fifth, when we're talking in the fifth round, you're not drafting complete. So you got to give something. What do you want to fall back on? Like, what is going to be the common thread between your guys? And you're right. That tends to be the common thread. It's again, not to keep complimenting Kyle but I think one of the things that is impressive, right, is he's an offensive coach whose teams play physically. His teams feel like sometimes they're coached by a defensive coach when you watch their style of play.
Well, think about their best player or best couple players on offense. George Kittle. Like, the first thing like that guy is just Deebo Samuel, Trent Williams. Like,
use check.
All their good players like kind of getting down and dirty in the gutter of what football, like they're all strapping up all their chin straps, right?
There's a type.
I mean,
there's definitely a type.